The trade union AMCU says although wages for workers in the mining sector have improved, their living conditions still leave much to be desired. The union's president, Joseph Mathunjwa, says the promises of the workers were tested and failed in Marikana.
This is the ground where their demand of dignity was answered with automatic rifles and live ammunition. This is the ground where the promises of South African constitutional democracy were tested and failed. We have gathered to remember, but remembrance without action is not enough. We have gathered to demand the truth, justice, accountability, and economic emancipation for which the workers sacrificed their lives.
At the same time, AMCU is questioning what it says is a lack of true economic freedom for workers 14 years after the Marikana massacre. 34 mine workers were shot dead at the Lonmin platinum mine in Marikana near Rustenburg in the northwest. The mine workers had embarked on a wildcat strike to demand a 12,500 rand monthly salary. For more on that story, let's go live now to SABC News reporter Thabiso Moss, who's been covering that commemoration. I see it's almost sunset there in Marikana. Thabiso, take us through the events of today in terms of commemoration. It's always the trade union AMCU at the forefront, but with a broad front of other organizations and political leadership that participates.
Good afternoon to you, Tulas, and to our viewers at home. It has been a very long day here in Marikana for the 14th commemorative event of Marikana Massacre here in the Northwest Province. You know, the event was marked by some few challenges, especially the program was delayed for a few hours. Also, the stage was declared unsafe, and forcing AMCU President Joseph Mathunjwa to deliver his speech just next to, you know, the infamous copy where some of the striking mine workers were shot dead by the police in 2012, 14 years ago. And you've alluded to some of the issues that, President of AMCU, Joseph Mathunjwa, alluded to in his speech, always emphasizing the poor living conditions or the harsh living conditions of workers here in Marikana, saying that even though there were some undertakings from the government as well as the mining company to improve this area of Marikana, it remains underdeveloped with, residents lacking housing as well as, service delivery in general. If you look at the state of the roads here in Marikana, the situation has not changed for the past 12 years. And that issue was also emphasized by the same workers. So some of the residents of this area of Marikana saying that even though wages have improved over the years, but there are many squatter camps that are mushrooming all over here in Marikana, which is one of the issues that was also, AMCU has been, talking about for many years, even though they say there was commitment from government and mining company to ensure that this area has been developed. So President Mathunjwa's speech, he started speaking around just before 3. Like I said, that the program was delayed a bit for a few hours. He spoke to many other issues, especially the behavior of politicians, saying that the democratic government has failed the working class here in South Africa, as well as communities in general, if you look at the state of service delivery in South Africa, but also emphasizing that people should start voting wisely, taking into consideration the dire state of services in many areas in the country.
Yeah. Thabiso, it's a pity about that noisy person who's revving that what sounds like a motorbike in the background, and fortunately they've just stopped. And the reason I say it's a pity is because I would like you to give us an update of what we are gleaning as far as the process of healing is concerned. I know that the families of those that died in Marikana always attend, or at least that was the case a few years ago. Secondly, you do tend to get a sense of where things stand in terms of the civil processes as well as the criminal processes. What are we gleaning in that regard? If you can, over that sound of that person who's revving a motorbike unnecessarily.
Okay, Tulas, yeah, we saw some family members, especially the widows of those mine workers who were shot dead by the police here in Marikana. As it has been the case over the years, they've been attending this commemorative event. Even today, they were also here. You remember that there is also a wreath-laying ceremony where some of these mine workers were shot dead by the police. So they always lay wreaths there in that particular area. But you also alluded to the fact that we saw in the first few commemorative events some political leaders coming here, but we have seen that, changing over the years. And that issue also, Joseph Matundwa raised it last year during the 13th Marikana Massacre commemorative event here, that there are no longer politicians who are coming here, as it has been the case in the first few commemorative events, saying that many of them, he said, they are now, because part of government, hence they are no longer, they even don't know the challenges, or they can't see the challenges that people are facing, saying that it's because they are driving in vehicles with dark windows that prevent them from seeing outside, challenges that people have here in the country. But you also alluded to some of the issues that litigations that are ongoing. Today, last year, we spoke to one of the lawyers of the, families or victims of Marikana Massacre, as well as Andres Nkome, who was representing those who were affected by this Marikana Massacre. I'm talking about the families of the deceased, as well as some mine workers who were injured during that particular period, over 70 of them. But he told us that some of the claims have been settled, even though there are some litigations that are before courts, and also raising the issue of compensation, that even though there has been some progress that has been registered in that regard, but there are still, that matter is still outstanding at this point in time, Tulas.
All right, Thabiso, thank you for that reporting.